Think of the red ball as your emotion. This is what we do with our emotions. Hi, I'm Lacey, and I work as a mental health professional, but I'm a human first. Today I'm going to share 3 ways to handle or cope with intense emotions. Intense emotions can be scary when they come over you. They are all-consuming. They take up all your attention. It's really hard to focus on anything else. When it's happening, it feels like there's no way out. And that can lead to unhealthy coping. For some, that means substance abuse. Sometimes that means self-harm. It could even mean suicidal ideation. The thought that comes to my mind when I think of intense emotions is, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. We all experience intense emotions, but some people are more prone to experiencing intense emotions than others. And this could be due to personality traits. It could be learned behaviors. It could be from traumatic experiences. We're not always taught how to cope, and a lot of times we are left alone to figure out how to navigate these internal states, and we don't always choose the best way to handle them. In my work as a counselor, but also personally, something that sticks out to me when it comes to intense emotions is the thinking patterns that seem to happen pretty often, and it's usually all or nothing thinking or dichotomous thinking. We want to be able to put things neatly into 1 or 2 boxes. Dichotomous thinking just means that there's only 2 options: right, wrong, good, bad, yes, no. And our brains default to that because it's a way of kind of avoiding vagueness, ambiguity, uncertainty, because all of those things feel very uncomfortable. But it puts you in the habit of jumping to conclusions. Pretty much anytime something happens, you jump to the worst case scenario. In one study, they called dichotomous thinking a survival method because it allowed the person to make decisions quickly and to draw conclusions very quickly. But in reality, it's causing you to jump to conclusions which aren't usually accurate. A lot of times this means assuming the worst possible outcome or worst possible scenario in a lot of different situations. And that leads to intense emotional reactions. So if you draw an extreme conclusion or you make extreme assumptions, then you're going to have extreme or intense emotions. Dichotomous thinking can also be present in people who experience mood disorders, personality disorders, but I believe everything happens on a spectrum. So you can experience all or nothing thinking, dichotomous thinking, and not meet the criteria for a diagnosis. It just depends on how much it affects your daily life and what kind of things you're putting into practice to help yourself. A good start to learning more about yourself and your intense emotions is to identify what you're feeling. There's a range of emotions that can feel very intense. It can show up as intense shame or guilt. It could be anger, rage, frustration, and a lot of times those feelings may be directed towards yourself. It can be a feeling of hopelessness, powerlessness. It could be a feeling of despair, worthlessness, hurt, feeling rejected, humiliated, and it can be a combination of things. Taking some time to really kind of identify what you're feeling can be helpful, because the more information you discover about yourself, the more of a sense of agency you will feel. So the 3 things that may be helpful, and all 3 of these things I have personally used numerous times. I still use them, and they're all evidence-based, which means that there's research that has proven their effectiveness. So the first one is cognitive behavioral therapy. And I will be honest that when I first was introduced to CBT, I thought changing your thoughts can change the way you feel. I felt like it was too simple. It sounds simple, but it takes effort. So you have to be willing to become aware of what you're thinking. And then you have to test it, investigate it, and see if there's any truth to what you're telling yourself. So I had mentioned earlier that someone who's having intense emotions usually is jumping to conclusions and having extreme thoughts, and those might sound like, I'm not good enough, I'm no good, I don't matter, I'm a failure or a screw up, I'll never be able to, whatever it is, I can't do this, just to name a few. I'm sure you can come up with some too. And so once you identify what it is you're telling yourself, then you start the process of figuring out if it's true or not and finding evidence for it or against it. Just a quick note, I think the feelings is something that you notice first. And when you can notice you're feeling strongly or you're having intense emotions, then you can kind of go back and say, okay, what was I thinking in that moment? Or what was going on in my head? I have learned that writing it down, because you may have multiple thoughts, that's pretty normal. It's helpful to write it down to really see what's going on and to do the investigating and write down the true possibilities and the possibilities that make the thought or belief false. When you go through the motions of writing it all down, it's like you're practicing a skill. And the more you practice a skill, the more available it will be to you when you need it later. But if you don't practice it and you try to do it in your head, it will be a lot harder for you to be able to do it when you need to do it. Because you're creating new pathways when you actually go through the motions of doing all this. Usually things that are beneficial in the long run take effort. After I had kind of practiced CBT for a little while, the next time I had an intense emotional experience, I immediately was able to remember in that moment, oh yeah, this thought, this dialogue I have in my head, it's not accurate, it's not the truth. And that alone kind of helped to ease some of the intensity of the emotions. Next part of it is reframing those thoughts. After you are able to really investigate it, figure out if it's true or false, I know that sometimes a thought will feel true. I know that. But there's usually evidence there. You can logically think of evidence that proves the thought or belief wrong. And so over time, the more you do this, the feeling will begin to align with the logic. So for example, if I make a mistake and I jump to the conclusion that I am a failure, is it true that you're a failure? Usually no, because if you make a mistake, there's usually always something to gain from it. And in my mind, that's not a failure. So to reframe this thought, you could say, just because I made a mistake does not make me a failure, because that's the truth. We all make mistakes, and if you make a mistake, it doesn't make you a failure. So you might start with the feeling, just figuring out what it is you're feeling. Then you identify what you're telling yourself. Then you investigate it, see if there's any truth to it. Even if it feels true, you want to kind of find evidence for yourself against the thought, and then you reframe it. And now, because you went through those steps, it's kind of like once you know something, you can't unknow it. So in another moment where this happens, now you have all this new information that doesn't necessarily support what you're telling yourself. The next intervention that is helpful for intense emotions is the emotional freedom technique. It's also called EFT tapping or tapping. You use acupressure points on your body and you tap them while you're identifying what it is you're feeling or what it is you're saying to yourself. I do both. I can do a more in-depth video of the emotional freedom technique. The steps go something like this. You would do what's called a setup statement. So you would say, even though I feel all these intense emotions, I still love and accept myself. Even though I'm experiencing all these intense emotions, I still love and accept myself. And you do this 3 times. Even though I'm experiencing these very intense emotions, I still love and accept myself. And then you go through the tapping points and you verbalize what it is you're thinking and feeling. The tapping sends a different signal to your brain, so it kind of calms the nervous system during a time where normally it would be really activated. It's kind of disrupting that pattern and sending your brain a different signal to help you calm down. I've been using tapping for quite a long time now, and so I'm at the point where if I'm having some intense emotions, I go directly to the tapping, and I might say, I'm feeling really scared, or I'm feeling really angry, or I can't do this. I feel like I can't do this. I feel like I can't do this. I'm really scared. I feel powerless. I feel hopeless. So I'll usually say what I'm thinking and feeling, and I'll go through the points. And typically you go through the points twice and you kind of check in with yourself. But I typically do it until I can feel myself calm down. But also I notice that almost always I feel the urge to take a deep breath or to yawn. Usually it's a deep breath, and so I know that when I'm taking a deep breath that something's relaxing or something's letting go. So that's what I look for. I do it until kind of I feel this urge to take a deep breath. EFT is something you can use at any point, and if I'm in public and I need to tap, I might just put my fingers below my nose on one of the tapping points. The fingers also have points, so I might just kind of gently kind of press on my fingers. And so nobody has to really know what's happening, but you have a tool or a skill that is helpful for you in the moment. And so I'll also provide a couple of links in the description for more information on the emotional freedom technique. But that is a technique that I go back to quite often because it's a little bit more tangible, and I kind of like having a more tangible option to use. And the last one is mindfulness. And again, just like CBT, I get a little nervous when I'm having to do like a mindfulness or a meditation exercise because I have not been the greatest at meditating in the past. My mind just kind of goes off on tangents, and I probably need to practice more. So the way that I think of mindfulness now is just noticing what's happening in your body. So when we have intense emotions, our first reaction is to push them away. You guys maybe have seen this little toy that was popular. I don't know, it still might be, but so this is how I think of what happens when we have intense emotions. The emotion comes in and we're trying to push it away. And the harder we hit the ball, what happens? It comes back harder. And it's the same thing with our emotions. And so the mindfulness is we are overcome with intense emotions, and instead of trying to push it away, instead we choose to just be curious about it. So think about it. If I'm kind of pushing the ball back, if I'm pushing the ball back softly, it doesn't come back as hard. But even if I pick the ball up and I just start to kind of look at it and feel the bumps and the roundness of it, and look at it and look at the color and where it is and all of those things, now I have the ball. The ball does not have me. I'm not being beat down by the ball. What that would look like internally is when you feel the intense emotions come up, you immediately, instead of trying to push it away, you immediately become curious. You might say, okay, what is this? Where is it? What is it? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Where is it located? Is it in my chest? Follow it. If it moves, follow it. Is it warm? Is it tingly? Does it burn? Is it taking over your whole body? Just whatever it's doing, notice it and follow it. And ironically, the more you're curious about it, the more it seems to retreat, which I think is so interesting. So the goal is not to eliminate our feelings and emotions. It's really, with all of these exercises, it's just to allow them to be there and to not push them away, because the more you push something away, the harder it comes back. You don't have to feel powerless against these things, but it does take effort to learn about what's happening, to discover what's happening in your internal world, to reframe your thinking, to let there be space for these emotions to surface instead of trying to push them away. It does take effort to go through the motions of doing all these things. And maybe not all of these things will work for you, but I'm hopeful that at least one will. And if you've already tried some of these things and they have been helpful, please share in the comments, maybe so other people can be encouraged. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching.